Gary, Marty and me, my story of living with a double brain tumour diagnosis and how humour and positivity helped me to cope. Episode 4. A Clarity of Vision. I always prided myself on my navigation abilities. I started my sales career well before the arrival of satellite navigation and so belonged to the generation of salespeople who carried a spectacular map collection in the boot of the car. Any self-respecting rep's set of maps included a gaggle of ordnance survey maps, A to Z town maps, and most importantly for road warriors, a Little Chef map of the UK. In the late 1980s, one of my sales managers loved Little Chef restaurants so much that he issued all of his sales team with a copy of the map, and he wouldn't even bother to tell you what town you were meeting in for a day out together. He would just say, "Meet you at number 208. No day out was the same unless it started with a Little Chef Olympic feast breakfast and enough free refill coffee to keep you awake for a week. Such a shame they are all gone now, mostly replaced by Greggs, McDonald's and KFC. My equivalent of sat-nav back then was a list of sequential directions written on my own little shorthand on a notepad which was clipped to a suction mount holder stuck to my windscreen, and this served me well enough for many years. Eventually, though, I started to notice that I kept getting lost. I couldn't understand it and rapidly got worse. The cause finally became evident in a moment of butt-cheek clenching terror. I was hurrying to an appointment just outside of Hemel Hempstead. In fact, it was my first visit to Hemel. I came thrashing down a dual carriageway when at the last minute I saw this strange road sign, which was a large circle with 6 smaller circles around it. However, I saw it so late that by the time I worked out that it was a huge roundabout, I was seconds from ploughing through the middle of it, which would likely have resulted in collapsed front wheels and a large skid mark in the centre of the roundabout, and elsewhere on my person. As I came to a halt and watched a cloud of my tyre smoke drift past, I looked around completely confused by this monster of a roundabout and why I'd not seen the sign until the last moment. I must have circled the entire thing 4 times before finding the road that I needed, and arrived at the customers late and stressed, but at least I realised that the reason for my navigation problem was my eyesight. I was passing signs before I could read them. I decided to get my sight checked and so booked myself an eye test. At the optician's I went through all of the usual checks, and with the test done, the optician sat and considered his notes for a moment before announcing with a chuckle, "Well, Mr. Hanna, when corrected you have great eyesight, but you wouldn't get me in a car with you without glasses." I duly parted with a load of cash and drove very carefully until my glasses were ready to collect. The day of the collection finally arrived, and the optician fitted my new glasses and held up a mirror for me to inspect them. This proved to be a bit disappointing, as I'd hoped to see a kind of Michael Caine sophistication reflected in the mirror, but my reflection looked exactly like Scott Adams's cartoon character Dilbert. Anyway, because of that, I left the opticians with the glasses still in their case in my pocket. I was wandering through Argos in Leicester, using it as a shortcut to the car park, when I decided to put them on. Big mistake. The world snapped into such sharp focus that I actually lost my balance and started staggering around. I found the level of visual detail overwhelming, a really new clarity of vision. As we have travelled around Yorkshire since the diagnosis, I found myself trying to take in every view with as much detail as possible. However, the beautiful countryside and the classic architecture of Harrogate just add to my sudden sense of impermanence. Most of the buildings and all of the countryside existed before me and will be around long after I've gone. I find that even the most mundane of things can trigger a moment of melancholy at how the ordinary events of the world will carry on without me. So now I see everything in a new and special way. Life in high definition, you could say. After a diagnosis like mine, the clutter and trivia of life was cleared away, and I was left only with clarity and truth. By the way, like me, over 12,000 people each year in the UK and an estimated 300,000 worldwide suddenly discover that they have a brain tumour, and from the moment that they receive that news, their lives will never be the same again. This podcast has been created to try and raise funds for the Brain Tumour Charity, who've been a big support to my family and I. As well as offering support to individuals and families, they fund life-saving research in the hope of ending the harm done by brain tumours. If you can help in any way, big or small, please go to www.justgiving.com/fundraising/Stuart-Hanna That's STUART-HANNAH, and make a donation. Thanks.